these questions, the points, the common mistakes I saw, and things like that. So if you have questions, definitely ask. If you are fixing while we're going through this, do that either on the back or on a separate sheet of paper so you don't make those same mistakes on the test. So the first section was just factoring out your GCF. The highest GCF of this first one was 3 and x. Some of you put the 3, some of you put the x, some of you didn't put both. What I just said. But when you divided it out, this should have been 3x squared plus 2. Some of you were keeping the x to the third and the x, so be careful and make sure you take those out.
Remember, when you're technically dividing, the exponent's power gets taken away. So it's not dividing the exponents, it's subtracting the exponents.
Yeah. So this one was worth 2 points. Did you factor out the highest GCF and all the variables, and then did you factor out the inside or factor what was left on the inside correctly? Questions on that first one? Second one was similar, except the GCF here was just a number, 2. When you divided that out, it was left with 3r squared plus 2r plus 6. So make sure you are dividing that out of each thing. Questions on that? For this second objective, you needed to factor by grouping. So split it down the middle. Look for the highest GCF of the first two, which was 5b squared. And if you divided that out of both of these, we'd have 5b plus 1. Of the second two, the highest GCF was 6. Make sure you're putting plus 6. And then if you divided that out of both of those, you get 5b plus 1 again. So then your final factors were 5b squared plus 6 and 5b plus 1. So the 3 points on that were, did you factor out the correct GCF on the first two, and then on the second two, and then did you get your final factors correct?
You always want to make sure the ones that are in the parentheses look the same in that first round, so then that way you don't
a lot of the issues I was seeing here was we factored out the wrong thing on one of these, maybe not the highest GCF, so then your insights weren't matching, but then you still put them down as factors. Don't do that. Go back and see what went wrong. Or we were forgetting our plus or minus out here. We need that for our factors. Or we put too many exponents or missed variables. So make sure you're putting all those small details. Okay. Questions on this first one? And then for the second one, same thing. Highest GCF of these first two was 4m squared. If we divide that out, you have 7m plus 4. Of the second two, highest GCF was negative 3, leaving us with 7m plus 4. Some of you missed that negative and then still had negatives inside, so be careful with that. Make sure you're taking out whatever that sign is. So then your factors were 4m squared minus 3 and 7m plus 4. And again, those points were the same as the last one. Questions on that one? For the most part, we did fine with this one. it was this one that gave us difficulty. Some of us switched the order of this, so whatever order this is in, our factors also have to be in. So this should have been 1 minus 5x, 1 plus 5x, or vice versa. 1 plus 5x, then 1 minus 5x. Some of you were trying to find GCF here, which is a good step to do, but keep going. That's not the only thing you should be doing here. Then, same thing on the other side. Your factors should have been 7a squared minus 3 and 7a squared plus 3. What questions do we have on that section? So both questions were worth this 1 point, because once you found the numbers and variables, you just have to put a plus and a minus in between them. But if you missed that, or the order was incorrect, or something, you started to get points. For objective 4, you are looking for numbers that multiply to be the last one and add to be the middle one. So for this one, it's a little different. So for this first one, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 15, add to be 2. This one does not have a GCF, yes, besides 1. The two numbers that we're looking for are positive 5 and negative 3. If you wanted to use grouping here, you could, but it's not necessary for these type of problems. Because since there's a 1 in front, you know what your factors are, and you can jump straight into those. M plus 5, M minus 3. Do you have any questions on that? The second one I'm going to do two different ways. One is you found the GCF and worked it out that way. The other one is you didn't find the GCF and worked it out that way. So if you found the GCF, the common number they had in common was 5. The greatest common number they had. And then if you divide that all out, you have n squared plus 2n plus 1. And then just like this one, this has a 1 in front, so you're looking for two numbers that multiply to be 1 and add to be 2. Those two numbers would be plus 1 and plus 1. So your two factors would be n plus 1 and n plus 1, or n plus 1 squared. So the third point on this one was, did you factor out the GCF? Some of you did this by grouping, but also forgot to factor out the GCF. So you did it like this, where you multiplied 5 times 5 to get 25. So then you'd be looking for two numbers that multiply to be 25 and add to be 10. And 5 and 5 would work. So then, those of you that did it this way would have had to rewrite into 4 terms. If you got this far, something should have went off that all of these have a 5. There's probably a GCF there somewhere. Some of you may have noticed that from here and factored it out then. Some of you may have kept going like this. Taken 5n out of the first two, so we have n plus 1. Taken 5 out of the second two, so we have n plus 1 again. And then we have 5n plus 5 and n plus 1. But that 5n plus 5 can be factored more. You can take out that 5. So whether at the beginning or at the end, in the middle, doesn't matter. Somewhere you should have seen that there was a GCF of 5 and taking that out. What questions do we have on that one? And then this last section, yeah.
For the objective 4, how did you get the first one?
This one.
Yeah.
So after you find these two numbers, take your variable, take those numbers and the signs, and put them straight into your factors. That's it. Column.
So, in order to do that, like, get the two side numbers on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to multiply to equal the top number, but it also has to like add to the bottom.
In the last section, this was like hit or miss. You either got this and was fine, you got the first one but struggled with finding the numbers on the second one, or you were lost on the whole thing. Right? So for this one, because this has a number in front, we have to take those two numbers and multiply them. So 2 and negative 20 gives us negative 40. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 40, but add to be negative 3. The two numbers that worked were negative 8 and positive 5. And if you're struggling with finding those numbers, think about your factors first, list them all out off to the side if you need to, then go through each one and try to eliminate, can I make one of these negative, can I add them together, will I get negative 3? If the answer is no, move on to the next one and keep doing that. Once you have those two, rewrite this as 4. So 2r squared minus 8r plus 5r minus 20. Order of the middle doesn't matter. Split it down the middle. GCF of the first two is 2r. Divide that out, leaving r minus 4. GCF of the last two is positive 5. Again, leaving r minus 4. Then your outside factors, 2r plus 5 is one of your answers, and r minus 4 is 2. So points on this was, did you show me somehow how you got the negative 8 and 5? Whether that's the cross, just writing it off to the side, somehow you showed me that. Rewriting your trinomial into a polynomial, your 4 terms. Factoring out the first GCF of the first two, the second GCF of the second two, and then getting both of your factors. What questions do we have on that? I will after I finish this. Elijah.
For this one, why do you multiply to
The rule.
for the trinomial?
Yeah, so when you have a number in front and you don't have a GCF, you always multiply those two together. For this next one, same thing. Multiply the 6 and the 8. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be 48 and add to be negative 49. I think we struggled with this one because we forgot the most obvious one, 1 and itself. Remember that the closer these two are together, 1 is going to be one of your factors. Also, this is positive. There are only two ways to make a positive when multiplying. They both have to be positive or they both have to be negative. So negative 1 and negative 48 were your two numbers. Then you could do this process. Rewrite this into 4 terms. If there are t's again on the test, try to make sure I can see clearly which one is a t, which one is a plus. That was a little bit of a struggle. So then split it down the middle. Of the first two, t is the only thing we can take out. leaving us with 6t minus 1. Of the last two, negative 8 is the only thing we can take out, leaving 6t minus 1. So then our two factors would be t minus 8 and 6t minus 1. What questions do we have on that one? We are going to start the test after lunch, but if you would like to start it before, you can come let one of us know. Sid, I'll scroll back up. Which one? You said this one?